Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Flames Unfiltered. It's a live episode as we're talking NHL draft as rounds 2 through 7 just wrapped up here on a late Saturday afternoon, early evening. We survived round 1 of the draft, guys.
Yeah, man, that was something, wasn't it?
There was, I think the NHL listens to the fans pretty well, I guess. If they don't listen to him on this one, I really don't care what the GMs think. I can't do that. That was like the COVID draft. Remember that?
Oh, yeah. And actually, it's not even so much the fans thought, it's all the analysts and people that work in hockey that were bemoaning it that really kind of stoked the fire, right? It's like everybody just agreeing and loud unison. This is horrendous. I just told you before we came on, I fell asleep 3 or 4 times last night just because the format was so boring.
Absolute nightmare. It was awful to watch.
And it took, 50 minutes, I think, for 4 picks to be made at one point today?
Yeah.
50 minutes for 4 picks.
The second round started off dragging too, and I was just like, man, if this continues to go, I thought we were going to be here till like 9 o'clock tonight. I'm like, we'll be doing our live show, and we will not even have picked all of our picks, which we barely did right now because, as we were preparing to come on the air, the Flames sent their 7th round pick next year to Detroit to acquire the 211th round pick, where they got Jan Metavinko, a player selected, spent time with the CKSA's junior team last year. And yeah, he's a 6'1", 150-pound defenseman. Doesn't even say. Even listed left wing.
Yeah, left wing, center. Winger/center.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Should we start right at the top? You want to start going through the picks and just do that?
Yeah, I may as well. I mean, I'm as far as the top of the draft goes, I mean, I don't think the Flames could have done better given, what they were looking for, what they came away with, especially for a draft that's not, considered to be particularly deep. They've got 2 potential centers, in Cole Reshny and Colin Potter. Potter may project more as a winger potentially, but these guys are super young, could play either position or end up playing both. The Reshny pick, I think you may be more excited than I am just because of proximity to you, right? In terms of where he's going to play. Yeah,
he's coming to play in North Dakota this year, and that's where I'm at. So I'm excited to see that, and I'll be able to watch the progression of the Flames' first round pick up close, and that's exciting for me. I mean, obviously, I was kind of all over the board. I'm not a huge prospects guy. I'm the first to admit it. Like I'm not a huge prospects guy. I don't study prospects. I don't study draft analysis pre-draft. I know my younger players, but not to the extent that I probably should. But I had watched him play, and I was excited, to see that first off that he was committed to North Dakota this year, and then of course then it fell into the lap of the Flames, and that's who they pick. And what made me the most happy, I guess, about like day one and the first round was that we addressed our needs, right? And I went into the draft thinking if we drafted 7 centers, I'm not pissed. Like I'm serious. Like it's darts at a dartboard as far as I'm concerned. And that's how the draft is. I mean, we can be as excited as we want about all these guys today, but there's a long ways and a lot of progression that needs to happen for this to turn out in a positive way. But the first round pick, I think it's going to be good. He's a good player on both ends of the ice, a responsible player that can put points up. And that is what the Flames are looking for, right?
Well, big time, especially the center position. The 2 things that stood out the most to me was the desperate need for centers. In particular, a center that would be a right shot would be ideal, but that wasn't the case. But 2 really good centers, and also very fast. The pace of play in the NHL now, you can't be a slow plodding team. Despite how it was 20, 25 years ago. So, I don't think we could have had a better first round, short of trading some picks and moving up, which Conroy mentioned he'd attempted to do at one point. Obviously, that didn't pan out, but I mean, all told, I don't think we can ask for much more than the 2 players that we've selected, at least to this point in time.
Does the size of Reshny make you worry a little bit at being 5'10", 183 pounds? And albeit he is only I mean, there's development still. So
yeah, it doesn't bother me in the least. I mean, I like some of my defensemen to be a bit bigger. I used to want the goaltender to be bigger until Dustin Wolf came along, or even UC Saros. But size matters less than it ever has in the game right now. So I mean, would I prefer to be a few inches taller? Yeah, probably. But do I care? Not really.
Yeah. No, I like that that he can handle both ends of the ice. Has been a responsible player, and I mean, last year in Victoria, he put up 92 points in 62 games. I guess we can't argue with that.
No,
the late first round pick of Cullen Potter did surprise me a little bit. I did not know, and he had not heard anything about the Flames being that high on him to the point where Conroy said last night that he was wanting to possibly move up to protect that they would get him. I was a little bit surprised on this one, but happy. I know he did play a little bit of wing last year for most of the year at Arizona State, but has potential to be a center. And Conroy made it clear last night that he will be tried at center and be thought of as a center, as a prospect for the Flames.
Well, why wouldn't he be, right?
Absolutely.
Given what their needs are, especially at that age. The funny thing to me is that actually just prior to that pick being made, I saw a lot of people on X, Flames fans, kind of clamoring for them to make that pick. And even just a few picks prior to that when he was still available, it's like, hopefully it's one of, say 3 players, and Cullen Potter was on a few people's lists. So, yeah, again, I mean, I'm excited to see how this guy plans it as well. I mean, they're both a ways off. It doesn't address our center needs anytime soon, but it gives us some hope for the future. And all told, and hindsight's 2020, but when I think about past drafts, and I won't, last year was exceptional. I thought that right from the get-go, but when you look at the last 20, 25, 30 years of Flames drafting, this again feels like a draft where they really did their homework, made sensible picks. There's good reason to believe a handful of these guys will pan out to some extent or another, versus years gone by where we would have one NHLer out of about every, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 picks.
Yeah, it seemed like it was trending that way. I mean, the 90s were awful. The 2000s were probably worse. And the 2010s were marginally better, and things have kind of improved in recent years here now. But I think the first 2 picks were safe. I love that we addressed the center position. I can't state that enough. I think that is so critical. I love the speed of Potter. He is fast. I've watched him play a few times. He is really, really fast, moves the puck well, got good hockey genes. His mom was a really, really good hockey player for the U.S. team. And all good.
Yeah, 100%. Again, it's funny to think of what these guys could turn out to be, but I think in terms of Cullen Potter's game, I watched quite a bit of highlights of his as well. Like the way he flies to the neutral zone it's something to watch. He's, as you said, very, very fast. And when you watch the Flames now, they're not a particularly quick team. Guys like this can certainly change that, and especially again, that center position need being what it is. I'm really curious to see what the team does for stopgaps, between the centers they have now and when these guys are potentially ready to play pro, and that's going to be an interesting discussion as well,
because it is going to be years, and the stopgap
presumably.
I'm wondering if when do you start addressing the center problem with trades or free agency, and we'll talk a little bit about the Anderson situation, and maybe that leads to somehow getting a center. I don't know, and I guess that's all speculation at this point on what will happen. But in the second round, which was this morning, the Flames picked Theo Stocksilius in the, what was it? The 54th.
54th. And I have a funny comment about this one.
Another center.
Yep.
Another
much
one.
like, yeah. Well, another center / winger potentially. We'll see what he turns out to be. But Cole Reshny going to North Dakota was one thing that stood out to me that made me think of you. Now, if I remember the word correctly, is it called a portmanteau when you combine a bunch of words together to make a new word? Theo Stocksilius is like combining 2 of your favorite Flames ever.
Christian Huselius.
Right? Theo Fleury and Christian Huselius. Yeah, and Theo Fleury.
You know what? When I wrote this one down today, I was actually, I'll know how to spell this one. Like I love Hunter Prstevich, and having him on the show last year was great, and just getting to know him a little bit. I still can't figure out how to spell this guy's name. I had to look it up every time.
It's funny, eh? And Stocksilius, we might not even pronounce that correctly because remember, Oliver Shillington, the Swedish name. People thought it was Kylington because how it's spelled.
Yep.
So we'll have to see how some of these names pan out. But
that's
again,
how they were
another
saying it on TV.
Yeah, and they were misleading all of us, which is
could be.
That's the way it goes when you have a global game like this, right?
That is right. Names are not always easy.
No.
In the third round, the Flames did move off the center tradition and go with a defenseman from the U.S. developmental team, Mako Phillips. And I don't know a lot about this player. I have heard he's a big, tough, strong, physical.
He's huge. Yes. He's a very, very mean defenseman. 6'6", I believe, but definitely known for his toughness and mean streak. Kind of a throwback defenseman.
I believe he's a left wing too, and he's going to fit that left side real well. And we need to, when you look at our defensive draft, our prospect pool that we have, we have a lot of really, really fun offensive defensemen coming up, right? Probably a glutton of offensive defensemen coming up. And this helps build that strong, stay-at-home, tough, a guy that would fit in good with a Brustevich or a Parak, you know what I mean, in the future. So hopefully that pans out. I like the thought process there.
Yeah, some people were bemoaning a little bit because the likelihood of a defenseman like that panning out in pro is certainly more rare than your skilled players. Their likelihood of making it.
Well, isn't that what the draft's all about, though?
Well, I mean, you got to take chances here and there. I mean, but there's already people bringing up Keegan Kanzig's name, which was, kind of made me laugh a bit because I mean, you have to give these guys a chance, right? And anyway, we'll see how that all goes. But he was definitely they got their centers, their forwards in the first 3 picks, and obviously they deviated from that. And this guy, I mean, you're gonna have to ask me in 2 years what I think of him because right now, like it's so far off from being a legit NHL, ready prospect that it's hopefully it pans out because we do need a player like that, as you just alluded to, but we'll see.
I had to laugh in the first round, and I hate to bring up bad Flames memories here, but when they announced Mason West from Medina High School, it was like off the charts, right? I mean, he's a center, he's a good hockey player. There's high school hockey here in Minnesota next door to me, but he's a stud football player too, and like it was an off the chart pick, and he's a bigger, taller guy that hasn't filled out. He's like 6'7", he looks super skinny at 218 pounds, and I was watching the highlights of him and laughing, and I'm just like, oh my God, this looks just like, this reminds me of the Feaster debacle.
Oh, easy. Our viewership's been going up for this live episode, here and there, and you might plummet it by bringing his name up. So,
when I saw Chicago pick that guy, I'm just like, oh, that is not good.
Yeah. Anyway,
on to the 5th round for the Flames, 144th pick overall, left winger out of Sioux Falls in the USHL, Ethan Wittenbach. This guy's got pro level scoring from what they're saying. I watched some video on him here this morning. Seems like a solid skater. I know he dealt with a knee injury this year in the USHL, but ended up leading Sioux Falls in scoring. But it'll be interesting to see when you get down to these rounds. These are where it is a little bit more of a crapshoot, but
but you can really hit one in the park, right? Like you can really obviously Johnny Gaudreau is one of the first things that comes to mind, as it always will when it comes to late round picks or mid round picks, if you want to call it that. But there's a lot of found gold in these rounds, and banking on these guys that have a lot of skill and have proven they can score, that often does translate to the next level. So he's a guy I'm going to be keeping an eye on for sure.
In the 6th round, 176 overall, the Flames go another winger, a right winger, played at St. Andrews College, heading to Harvard this year, Aiden Lane.
Yep.
Don't know a ton about this guy. From what I've read today, he's a smart power winger with some good size, so that'll help out the Flames with that aspect. But again, it's a long ways down the road, and then that leads us to our 7th round picks, which is even longer down the road. And these are these are a couple guys that I really don't have much of a beat on at all as far as prospects. And I'm just pulling up their 7th round here.
Well, I'm going to say about I'll mention just quickly about Aiden Lane too. He was like really, really effective when he joined Brampton towards the end of the season. I think he was a point a game, and very well known for his forechecking ability and ability to retrieve pucks and puck battles and all those types of intangibles that you need to win, especially when the games get tight. So hopefully, he develops as he currently is, and he'll be a very effective player one day.
In the 7th round, Calgary goes with a defenseman, a big guy, 6'4", 196-pound Swedish defenseman Jacob Leander. And then late in the day, and we touched on this a little bit ago, with moving a pick next year, the Flames did pick, I believe it was 211th.
Yeah, from Detroit.
Yeah, from Detroit, left winger, 6'1", out of Russia, Medvedko. And I don't have a strong take on those last 2 picks. I don't. I haven't had a chance. They happened just so recently. I haven't had a chance to watch any videos or anything yet on these 2 players.
Yeah, and those late round Russians too. I mean, it's hard to say if or when they'll come over. I mean, obviously the team had probably had some discussion with him that he'd be willing to come to North America, as many players dream to do, regardless of where they're from. But again, going to be a ways off on that one for sure. But I don't think there is a lot to know about him at this point.
I believe he's an overager too, is he not?
He is. Oh, he's 18.
Okay.
He'll be he'll be 19 in August. So yeah,
he was. That. Yeah, he was an overager.
Yeah. 2-way winger, known for his playmaking ability. Yeah, he's produced well year over year, so could turn into something. But this is also a kind of uncharted territory for us, because only in the last years have we actually had, so many picks, because we just mortgaged the future so many goddamn times over the years, right? So.
It's 2 years in a row where we've had 7+ picks in the draft, and we were going years where I feel like, did it feel like today when you were watching the draft, like it's like, does Edmonton not have any picks? Does Vegas not have any picks? Like there were certain teams I was like, man, they're not even drafting, and that was the Flames for many years. And now we're stockpiling those cupboards, and the cupboards are getting a little bit more packed with players that can help us out for the future here.
Yeah, exactly. So, a lot more to dig into in the next few days in terms of what the schedule reports are on some of these players. But I mean, overall, a good day, good couple of days, you should say, especially where we weren't really sure what to expect, because I think a lot of people thought Rasmus Andersson would have been dealt, which would have had draft implications, but that was not the case. So,
should we talk about the signings, and then we'll talk a little bit about Rasmus and what happens there in the future? But the signings, we had actually news to start the morning off right away today is Kevin Bahl re-signs with the Calgary Flames, 6 years, 5.35. The big defenseman we got in the Markstrom trade, who really was good, really good last year. And the contract is different. In his first year, he gets $2.35 million with a $3 million signing bonus, and then gets 5.35 in the following 2 through 6. He has an 8-team no trade for years 3 through 6. I was impressed with this play last year. He's exactly what we need to help supplement some of these offensive defensemen that we have coming up the chutes. And I didn't mind the tournament. I didn't mind the AAV. Did you?
I love both of them. I mean, it takes him right into his prime years, such that his contract would expire when I think he's 31. The cap hit's super reasonable, especially considering it's going up. This is a player that was very positive about Calgary and vocal about the fact he wanted to be here. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world to me, and I really felt that had he not been injured this season with a concussion, which I believe was against Minnesota, the Flames would have made the playoffs. His play was good enough that he could have, garnered them a few more points on the board, just with how strong his defensive play was. Of all the guys that missed time this year, Connor Zary being another really important one, I think Bahl's had the biggest impact on the team's success or lack thereof.
Yeah.
So I love the deal all around. I think it's fantastic. It's a really positive thing to see, especially when the fans, and I think ourselves included, we're kind of hoping for an Andersson trade or some other kind of trade movement. It's positive to see somebody that you want, as part of your team, decide to stick around in the midst of expecting something else to happen, right?
I was happy to see this side. I was kind of started to get a little bit worried that it hadn't happened by now, and I don't know. It started my morning off pretty damn good.
Yeah. That
Two
was
other
huge.
signings to quick talk about since we last talked. Dryden Hunt signs a 2-year, two-way deal for $825, and Justin Kirkland signs a 1-year, one-way deal for $900,000. I am dying to hear your thoughts on both of them.
I have a little bit of a bias at times wherein I want the team to move on from certain people who I just see as tweeners, and I don't often give enough respect to the role they play. And Dryden Hunt's one of those players. He was good when he played for the Flames. He was very valuable to the Wranglers. So my first thought was like, why? But then I'm like, okay, you know what? No, this does make sense. I mean, he's been a good soldier for the team, and he could fill in at a pinch kind of thing, as I feel like we say about a lot of Flames right now. But yeah, no issue with that. I would have been fine with 1 year, but 2 is fine. And then the Kirkland situation, especially after it was announced that the team was rightly moving on from Tyson Barrie, and also moving on from Anthony Mantha, who I actually liked quite a bit and was hopeful he might get like maybe another PTO. Of all the guys that got hurt or didn't play well, Kirkland deserved another chance. I mean, even if he just shot in the shootouts, he's worth the contract they gave him, right?
I'll tell you, when I saw the Dryden Hunt, I laughed and thought of you right away because I know your feelings on that. But what I've always thought about Dryden Hunt is like he's not going to be a game changer ever. But you know what? You can put him in the lineup in a pinch when there's an injury or something, and he's safe, right? He's just going to
for the most part
for you, and he's safe for you. But what I did like about this is this kind of pegs him as a leader in for the Wranglers, maybe a captain, assistant captain role, where he's gonna have the NHL experience, but yet be a solid player in the A and really lead some of these younger players and help them move up the ranks. And I know a lot of AHL teams have those guys, and I think that's super smart in developing the young players. As for the Kirkland, I'm interested to see how this plays out. Like, he definitely could be our fourth line center this year, and I would have no problem with that. I don't, as much as I liked what I saw last year, I don't feel like I got enough time to get a full beat on him yet. But the way I looked at it is, what's the worst that happens? So we put him on waivers. I mean,
yeah, I mean, he's just,
I mean, if there's another person that can move into that role and do a better job, so he goes on waivers. But I think there's upside. I feel like there's upside, and I feel like he could fit that fourth line role in center position very well. And like you said, he's like an ace in the hole on the shootouts. So how do you go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also a big reason why they're moving on from Kevin Rooney as well, was taking a chance on Kirkland to play that role. But I mean, the guy's been, I don't even want to come, they can't really call him a late bloomer because he never really bloomed. He blew his knee out, right?
Didn't have time to.
Yeah, so it's such a small sample size. I'm cautiously optimistic, but what I saw of him, I loved. I've watched those shootout goals, God knows how many times, and it makes all the sense in the world to give it a chance. Like I said, like you said, there's no risk involved. So, yeah, why not keep him around?
And we touched on the Wranglers and over the break we had here since our last regular episode, which was a week and a half right now. Brett Sutter was named head coach of the AHL Wranglers. I don't know why, but I felt like I was surprised. I mean, I wasn't unhappy about it. What were your thoughts?
I mean, I wasn't surprised at all. He's been gearing towards that position for quite some time now. I guess one of the biggest reasons I wasn't really surprised was that, with all the shuffling on the coaching staffs, like with, Trent Call having a full-time position with the Flames now, it's like somebody new was going to be coming in, and they had to kind of rebuild that bench. And I mean, Sutter knows the whole organization so well and the players so well. I mean, it's kind of a natural fit to give him a shot, right?
Yeah. I think he'll do fine, and I'm really excited to see what we get, how these players move up this year. Where does a Hanzik go? There's so many players that are going to have the opportunity this year with the Wranglers to really stake their claim to earning a spot or a call up to the Flames. So that'll be interesting. We talked a little bit about UFAs and RFAs, and we've signed Hunt, we signed Kirkland. Mantha's not going to re-sign. Rooney's not going to re-sign. But the two that still hang out there in the UFA category is Joel Hanley and Dan Vladar. The latest on Dan Vladar is that there's a contract on the table for him. He does want a starter's role. Do you think he gets a starter's role somewhere, or do you think he circles back and takes the Flames offer?
He's not going to be a starter anywhere. Just full stop. It's not going to happen. But He could very well get more money elsewhere to be a reliable backup and play, 30 plus games potentially. That'd be a pretty heavy workload for a guy that's never really had that much, but he showed really well last year. Anytime a guy gets a contract offer and doesn't sign it, that tells me he's going to market, and somebody else, because the wheels start turning in your own head too, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to go to market. I'm going to see what's out there. Somebody offers you some money. He's probably going to be gone unless he signs, before Tuesday. And I don't see that happening. And I believe in Joel Hanley's case, it's already been said he's going to go to market, which means someone's probably going to overpay him. Take nothing away from the player, had a fantastic season, but guys like that rarely replicate that type of success at that age. I expect him to be a very good serviceable defenseman somewhere. He is not going to be playing with a guy like Mackenzie Weegar and putting up the kind of numbers he did this past season. I do not see it.
I agree. I think he's a risky re-sign. I wouldn't be totally upset if the term was manageable and the AAV was manageable, but I agree. It's going to be tough to replicate that again. And it'll be, he is definitely one of those guys that's like, yeah, easier mark to get overpaid and be a non-factor, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it could be a team like LA who just gave away Jordan Spence, who's he played junior here. Ottawa's defense, which was already, full of talent, just got a hell of a lot better. Jordan Spence might be the most underrated defenseman in the NHL right now, in my opinion. And then, I don't know what the hell Ken Holland's doing in LA, but he gives him away. So a team like LA could be backing up the Brinks truck for a guy like Joel Hanley, which makes no sense, but it's entirely possible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like right now, I think Joel Edmondson's going to wind up in the Kings top 4, which concerns me. So as a Flames fan, I'm delighted, but as a Kings fan, I'd be concerned.
That would concern me too.
Yeah.
The RFAs, we took care of Kevin Bahl today. Morgan Frost and Connor Zary still hang out there. And I knew both of these contracts were going to be difficult, sticky ones. Is it time to worry at all, or time to panic at all, or is this just part of the process? I keep telling myself it's just part of the process.
No, it is. I mean, they're RFAs, they're not UFAs. So there's no panic at all. Frost, if I'm him, I probably want to defer contract talks till about 2 months into the season because he didn't show anything other than he can almost score as a Flame. So he probably wants a chance to, I kind of liken it to when Roman Turek signed his extension in Calgary, started the season with 2 shutouts in a row and got paid very handsomely for a very small sample size. And Frost is probably smart to try and make a similar play, like get off to a good start of the season and, add a couple of dollars to that contract offer. Because right now he's not worth much. And same, but a little different with Zary. I mean, he was hurt so much with his knees, right? That, I don't know. He doesn't have a lot of leverage either. I think Zary would sign first because he's more of a known commodity, but God, who knows? Both those players are at strange points in their careers.
They are. They're difficult contract talks, I think, with that. Let's talk about Rasmus Andersson. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little disappointed right now. And not that I wanted us to just give him away or anything like that, but all the talk I heard leading into this week was that the market probably couldn't be better. I did have a couple of people tweet to me and tell me, well, yeah, we need to see what happens in Florida first with Ekblad and just kind of see that out and then work on the Anderson thing. And, I'm about the most non-panic person when it comes to moving players, but like on this one, I was like, all right, I feel like the market's good. Let's take it while we can. I am deathly afraid of running this guy up until trade deadline next year. I don't like it. I don't want to do it. I want to start the season off knowing he's signed with us or not signing with us.
He's not going to be signing with us because they're not going to pay him what he wants. There's just not going to happen.
I agree.
There's no way that's going to happen. So what was mentioned on X today a couple times over was the fear of the Flames in a play opposition. They keep him at the deadline, and he walks for nothing next summer, which would be a colossal mistake, especially, again, as we've constantly talked about, and again today, how many good defensive prospects we have.
We cannot do that. We cannot do that.
I think he's going to be gone by the end of the summer. I hope. That's my hope.
I feel like this is somehow a way to flip him into a center. We need a center. Like somehow we gotta maneuver this so that we get a center out of this. The number one center? Probably not, but we need stopgaps right now until we can develop some prospects and stuff but with something's got to be done to help us down the middle. And I feel like this is something we need to leverage to do that.
Well, ideally, the other problem is that, as that's been said as well, like giving up Anderson means you're going to have a pretty big hole in your defense, despite how terrible he was at times last year. He had a very off year, even by his own admission. So what happens here is that apparently the player and the team have both said we're content to go into camp. Rasmus is a Calgary Flame.
Yeah.
Which I don't hate that, because it shows there's no animosity, there's no expectation of immediate trade. So it doesn't really hurt his trade value. But if I'm Craig Conroy, I'd almost ask him, like, can you just hold a presser for us? Just say you love being a Calgary Flame and this is where you want to play. And then they, before the questions really come in, grab the shepherd's hook and pull him away from the podium so that you can deal him when the time is right for the right return. I
feel like if the whole hockey world knows he's not re-signing here, our leverage is freaking history, and we're not going to get what we deserve for him, right?
Well, you say that, but at the same time, Joe Sakic got a king's ransom from Matt Duchene years ago, right?
I know.
I was one of the most critical people of him at that time. So it can still be done, but you have to tread so carefully.
Oh, and my luck, though, he blows his knee out mid-November, and then what?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just what do you do, right? There's no perfect answer here other than to say, like, it's going to create a hole in our defense. Like, Zane Parekh is not nearly good enough defensively to make a difference in the NHL. Defensively, offensively, I think he will right away, much like Dion Phaneuf did. Only he's even more skilled than Dion was in that respect. I just don't know if you trade Anderson and you get, a decent center. And there's already been talk like, they're going to try to sign Cody Glass in free agency and like things like that. There's so many moving pieces here. I don't know what the answer is other than to say, I don't mind keeping him for the summer, but I don't want this to drag into the season, because no matter what anybody says, no matter how positive they try to talk, it's always a distraction for everybody. The media, the team, management, the fans. It's just like, okay, like, we know this marriage is coming to an end. Can we just sign the paperwork?
Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
And another thing too, like, and we've talked about trade proposals on this show numerous times, and most of the time me and you shake our head and laugh at them. I did see one though, and I want to get your take on. I saw this on X the other day, and it was a trade proposal by a Carolina Hurricanes fan called Zach Kaniak, and it was Carolina receives Rasmus Anderson and Calgary's 26th third-round pick. Calgary gets Kotkaniemi, Scott Morrow, and Dallas's first-round pick. 26th first-round pick.
I don't want Kotkaniemi, but
you don't?
No, I mean, it's a little unfair of me, because it's not his fault he got fucking paid on an offer sheet, right?
No, but here's the deal. Like, I would probably do that, and here's why I would say. He's a stopgap, and then we got a first-round pick, too.
Yeah, I wouldn't hate it. I just feel like, but realistically, like, each position is not equally valued, right? No. You're not going to trade a top 4 defenseman for a top 2 center. Not likely anyway. You might get like a middling two-way center who can play second, a little power play, like in a pinch kind of thing, but they don't translate the same. So I don't know what to make of that. That's not the worst trade proposal in the world. I wouldn't be upset by it.
That's the only reason I talked about it on here, because it wasn't like an off the wall one. You know what I mean?
Oh, some of the ones that you see.
I just shake my head. But this one, when I read it, I was like, I don't know if I'd like. I honestly, I had the same feeling as you. I was like, I don't know if I'd like that or not, but like, it sounds realistic. Like,
I guess what kind of bothered me this, going into this weekend was like the people that are being negative about Conroy's work thus far in terms of trades he's made or hasn't made. It's like, man, it's been really, really, really good. And a few people bemoaning the fact Anderson hasn't traded. Well, there's a reason he hasn't been traded. Like, apparently Vegas tried to acquire him, and Vegas has nothing for assets, really. In the grand scheme of what a guy like Rasmus Anderson should net you, they probably have the least offer of any team other than maybe Toronto, right? Or Florida. Yeah. So it's just, anyway, I have no complaints about it. As far as where things are at right now, the biggest reason I wanted Anderson to get traded, because it gave us something cool to talk about, if that was the case. Hasn't happened yet. We could be looking at a Mitch Marner trade, which I don't care what team we're talking about on what podcast. That would be a huge deal. Although to this point, I don't think anything has happened. It doesn't look like it has.
No, I know that talk is going on.
Yeah.
What did you think about Let's talk about a couple things. Gibson gets traded to Detroit today from Anaheim for Mrazek and some other pieces too. I don't even remember what the other pieces were, but what was your thoughts on Gibson finally getting moved? And I always thought it would always just inevitably end up in Edmonton, and it didn't.
Well, the expectation the Oilers would just finally find a goaltender. Even if it was a career journeyman like Peter Mrazek. I mean, Mrazek's played with Carolina, Detroit, Chicago. Like, he's bounced around a fair bit, right? But the fact that there was a bona fide, at least past number one goaltender with young enough to be one again, was available, and the Oilers weren't able to scrape together a package to get him. Like, it's like, holy shit, man! Like, that was the best goalie available in the market that we know of.
Yeah,
and it wasn't particularly close.
You can't do it.
Well, but see, now it's funny because every fan base reacts to whatever's going on with their team, of course. And you see the Oilers fan base already reacting to the fact they didn't get him, and they're going to run it back with Skinner. I don't know that they're necessarily going to, but it's also funny to me that people are saying things like, "Oh, Skinner got them to back-to-back Cup finals." Well, Calvin Pickard had a big hand to get him there this year.
Yes, he did.
And I forget who it was, but one of the first person to respond to that argument about Skinner carrying them, or getting them, I should say, to back-to-back finals. You can't tell me if you didn't take the goalies and do this that it wouldn't be a different result. I ain't going to hear it.
Yeah.
There's your goaltender in those situations has got to make those big saves at the right moments, and maybe Skinner's a 1A, 1B somewhere. But Edmonton, to get over the hump, they needed a better goaltender, and there was none better to get than John Gibson. And I applaud Steve Yzerman for getting Gibson because he knows he's going to make the playoffs. Gibson needed a change of scenery. And I can see Gibson, no matter where he went, having a huge season next year and dragging a team kicking and screaming into the playoffs despite how crappy the rest of the team might be. So that's my John Gibson rant.
We've been dying and starving for a center, and one of the guys that was on the list of potential targets for the Flames is a JJ Peterka. Yep. And this week he gets moved from Buffalo to Utah for Michael Kesselring and Josh Doan.
Mm-hmm. So, oh man, I don't know if there's a GM in the league that has as poor a read on the market as Kevin Adams does in Buffalo. And you'd think, for a guy that said in a press conference last week, to be honest, I feel bad for our fans, you'd think he'd be more in touch with what he should be able to acquire for the assets that he has.
You know how organizations have like name our team or pick our mascot and pick our logo?
Yeah.
Buffalo should have like pick our trades. Help us out.
Pick our GM. Like, why is this guy like I just
that's an owner.
Well, and it is, and you're absolutely right. And
just help him though. Somebody help him.
But you see the same thing in every damn business on the planet. You have to put people in positions that they're good at, play them to their strengths. But if you're treating a pro sports franchise like a plaything, which essentially is what the Pagulas do, because they don't care about the Sabres, all they care about is the Bills, like, it's always going to be the same unless you hire qualified, intelligent people to make these choices. Kevin Adams might do better in a different atmosphere. I don't know, but what's going on in Buffalo and seeing what they're getting, like, man.
So nobody in that office like raised their hand and was like, hey, you might want to make a few more phone calls. Like, nobody did that?
Somebody may have, and they could have got overruled, right? Like,
holy cow.
But, and you can't. I've got some really good friends that are Sabres fans. I spent a lot of time talking to Matthew Barnaby a few weeks ago. He was a very, very popular Sabre, knows the organization very well. All those people deserve better with this team. Buffalo's a great sports town. And as a Flames fan and a long-suffering one, and I actually was kind of thinking today too, watching what the Kings are doing by trading Spence. Like, the Kings fans now are like, oh my God, it's so miserable being a Kings fan. I'm kind of watching the direction they're headed in. I kind of starting to see it. Like, they keep running it back with Kopitar and Doughty, like it's 2009.
Yeah. It's
absolute. These are supporting pieces at best now.
Yeah.
And you just traded probably your best defenseman for absolutely nothing, right? And we did that with the Ginla and Kiprusoff, hung on to them way too long or relied on them way too long. And now it's like, we're no longer the longest suffer. If we ever were the longest suffering fans in pro sports, if you ignore things like Toronto's cup drought, like, or at least in pro hockey, there's some Sabres fans, Kings fans.
Oh, Sabres fans got to be. Oh, they're the worst right now. I feel so bad for them.
Oh, it's terrible, man. It's terrible. It's not funny.
Speaking of other teams I feel bad for, actually, I don't feel bad. I think this is like probably the funniest thing I saw all week was with the Canucks.
Oh,
Wire Evander Kane. Oh, so let me get this straight. Your locker room couldn't handle JT Miller.
Yeah.
So you sent a stud player packing and you acquire another. Oh my God. That locker room. What do you think Quinn Hughes said when he saw that news? I would love to know what he thought.
I think he already knew he was leaving town. And I think he just booked an earlier flight.
There's no way.
And to be fair to JT Miller, I don't know how much the problem was JT Miller and how much the problem was Elias Pettersson.
I think it was probably more Pettersson. It was probably
usually the truth is somewhere more in the middle. I think Miller's more of a competitor than Pettersson's shown to be to this point in his career. But if you have a locker room that was no doubt divided, acrimonious at times, and you bring in a guy like Evander Kane, and now there's talk as well, if you hadn't heard, that Thatcher Demko was either going to sign an extension by July 1st or whenever, or he was going to want out.
Yep.
And whether that's true or it isn't, the fact is there's rumblings around your team that still scream discontent. And if you watch, and we talked about this a little while ago, and I got just as fired up then as I am now, you roll out a guy like Jim Rutherford, who's like 170 years old, and try to explain to the fan base what your team's doing. Meanwhile, they're watching this guy thinking, can we not get somebody else to do this job? There's so much going on around that team. It's just, and as a Flames fan, you just sit there and eat popcorn.
I love it.
And you would, especially because you hate the Canucks way more than I do. Way more than I do.
When I saw that, first of all, you know how there's so much BS on X now. Sometimes you're just like, oh, I really got to check into this because I don't know if I should believe this. When I saw that, I'm like, whoa, this can't be right.
What the hell is happening?
This cannot be right. And then I'm looking and I'm like multiple sources, and I'm just like, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say anymore.
So let's park that negative story and hilarious story for Flames fans and many others. Let's talk about something overwhelmingly positive that happened as well. And that's that on July 1st, Jonathan Toews is officially going to join his hometown Winnipeg Jets.
I'm excited. I mean,
you live very close to Winnipeg. I have a huge soft spot for Jets.
He played in North Dakota. So
yep. And if you read what that guy went through in terms of his health issues, how hard he had to work to get back. Now, the shitty thing is in Winnipeg, Ehlers is gone. That's pretty well a known fact now. Unless and they're always like, well, he might circle back. He's not circling back to Winnipeg. I hate when people say that.
He would have signed. There's no circling back.
That's why John Tavares already signed in Toronto by the way, probably the tidiest work Brad Treliving's ever done as a GM, because he got Tavares for a very reasonable cap hit on a 4-year contract. Now, Ehlers leaving Winnipeg as Toews is coming in. It's like, wait, no, this guy's coming. Come back. We can do this. We can run it back.
Oh, could you imagine?
We'll get Hellebuck, a sports psychologist. So, but now you're losing this really potent scoring winger and bringing in who I expect will be still one of the better two-way centers in hockey and one of the best leaders in hockey, bar none. And I feel for them, but what I do, again, this whole circle back thing that you hear in free agency, I don't remember the last player that tested the market and then came back. And I know there's one that it's somewhere in my brain, I just can't find it. But usually when it's like, oh, he could circle back, it's like when you break up with your ex. Oh no, she's gonna go date around a bit, but she'll be back. Don't worry. She knows you're the one. She doesn't know that. She left for a reason, right?
So I'm gonna make a prediction so you can make fun of me here on our next episode. I feel like Dan Vladar is gonna still sign here.
Did he ever say he was gonna test the market though?
Fair.
So that's a key difference. Now,
fair.
You could still be right. Just because Vladar had such moments of brilliance last year, I'm concerned somebody's going to say, "Oh, the Flames offered you 2.8. We're going to give you 4 on a 1-year deal. It's like,
oh God, they'd be on crack. Would Buffalo do that? Maybe, I don't know.
Edmonton probably should if they can find $4 million, which they should be able to now that they sent Kane out.
But Edmonton probably should. But Edmonton could probably tell him $2 million and he'd be like, I'll take it. Because he knows he's going to get to play there.
Yeah, but he'd have to live in Edmonton. Anyway.
I know.
Well, actually, not necessarily. It's only a 3-hour drive. But anyway, I digress.
Speaking of crappy places, what are your thoughts of Atlanta being in expansion? Should we talk about this another day?
Well, no, it's topical. It's relevant right now. It just came out. Oh boy! So they lost both hockey teams to Canada, which is pretty amazing to do. You know, when your dollars, when your dollars trading 30 cents less,
it's hard to do.
Like, just to say nothing of all the other issues between Canada and the U.S. right now. Like, I don't know. I mean, to me, Atlanta makes a hell of a lot more sense than Phoenix ever did as a hockey market. Despite the fact Phoenix is actually, or Arizona rather, is turning out some pretty good players now, obviously like Austin Matthews and several others. But I can't help but feel that like it's hard to judge a 70s franchise by modern standards as to why the Flames didn't pan out there. I've read about it. I can't remember all the history, but anyway, there's
a long time ago.
Well, Ted Turner of the Atlanta Thrashers. So Ted Turner had as we all know, a monstrous media conglomerate, one of the most successful media moguls in the history of the world, right alongside Rupert Murdoch. So, but the Thrashers, Turner Broadcast, and they didn't really care about the Thrashers. And they just went through that major merger with AOL, which was disastrous. So it was like the perfect storm of why this team was never going to work in Atlanta for anybody who knew anything about the insides of that business. So I'm not going to say a third time's a charm, but I'm also going to say the previous 2 times, there's damn good reasons it didn't work. So I need to do some research.
I'll tell you. I'm going to tell you. Have you ever been to Atlanta?
Not yet.
Don't go.
I don't think it helped, by the way, that their first overall pick was Patrick Steffen.
No, I don't think so either.
You talk about starting off on the wrong foot.
They had some good players though, and like that's just not a hockey market. Like you can tell me they're the hugest television market in the world, all this crap. I don't care. Like if there's something to be said about if you didn't grow up playing hockey, you're not going to be a hockey fan. And there's not a lot of hockey in Atlanta.
No, I'd like to talk to
said about that. I mean, it's just I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'd like to talk to like Ray Ferraro, who I'd met before, who was a big piece of Atlanta in their first year or two. He had 76 points there one season, I remember. I'd be curious for like a guy like a veteran hockey player like him, what his take was on why Atlanta failed. There was a lot of the shit too, like the Dan Snyder accident with Danny Heatley. Like a lot of bad shit happened during that team. They had that one playoff series in 2007 where they went 0-4 against the Rangers. Yeah. The Army Yager powered Rangers had just steamrolled them. So
yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But at the same time, to talk about it more broadly, like I'm getting tired of NHL expansion. Like when do we have enough teams? And actually,
we probably could contract 3 or 4.
Yeah. Well, and let's talk about that for a minute before we get out of here. So
let's
the CBA revisions. So
let's do it.
84 games.
4 preseason games, 84 regular season games.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
It's been 82 for so long. Why do we have to change it?
I like the preseason going down to 4. Why not just do 82 and start September 5th?
I mean, I'd go mid to late September. I wouldn't. To me, the regular season should have to start by September 30th. At least gain a week or so, right?
You got to.
Because training camp takes time. But
mid-June, we can't do this anymore.
It's crazy. It's just starting to eat into the summer. But like in the 84 game thing, one of the arguments I heard was like, oh, it gives players 2 extra games to hit the performance bonuses. Who cares? These guys are all millionaires anyway. If you can't do it in 82 games, you probably won't do it in 84.
Well, now it's going to screw the stats up, and people are going to be asterisk and shit, and I don't know.
Hey, a point per game player in 82 games is no longer a point per game player. So
Yeah.
kind of dumb when you think about it, but also it's like, why are we messing with this? Who asked for 2 more regular season games? I sure as hell didn't.
I didn't.
A qualifying round for wild card if there's 2 teams tied to the same amount of points, maybe. The best of 3. There's an idea. I'm not saying it's a great idea, but it's an idea. Nobody wants 2 more regular season games. Like, we scream for them to shorten the season because, like you just said, it's going way too far into June. And what do? They give us 2 more regular season games instead.
Yeah. It's money. It's money. Okay, so I want to just roll through the other parts of this so quick since we are talking about it. They want maximum player contract length shortens from 7 to 6 years. So 7 if you were on the team, you can sign. 6 if you're not on that team. I'm fine with that. I think that makes even more sense.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
New comprehensive playoff salary cap system, closing the LTIR loophole. I think that needs to happen for the integrity of the game.
If nothing else, yeah, absolutely.
Draft picks signing rights to university expire at age 22, regardless of the league. So it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're just at 22, your signing rights expire.
Yeah,
fine with that. Deferred
100%.
Salaries banned. I'm all for that. And then significant increase to the Stanley Cup playoff bonus fund, nearly double the money. I don't know that we need to pay these guys anymore to win. They should want to win. Like, let's have a heart. Too many of these young millennials now are just worried about the money and not winning. I'm old school. I want to hold the cup, right?
Yep.
Establish full-time e-bug. That should have been done years ago.
That's long overdue.
Here's where you're going to get me fired up. No dress code.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. This is one thing, but that's like, you know what? I pray that you're going to have, I can name them for you right now. I can make a list, but I won't. I will bet you that 85 to 90% of the players will still dress the same.
Well, and I suspect a lot of coaching staffs will take it into their own hands to say, and this could become a contentious issue, but they're going to tell their players they expect them to dress a certain way, the same way as any organized hockey team.
It says teams cannot mandate it. I don't like it.
They can still say they expect it, that it's not necessarily a mandate, right?
That's right.
I don't know. To me, it's like, it's a privilege to do what they do. And yeah, like it's been that way for so long. I think it teaches something too, especially for younger players, especially as they come up through the ranks. They have it just teaches them respect. Pageantry, like just those types of things, right?
You go to I watched this year. If you go to a hockey rink on a Saturday morning and there's a Pee-wee game going on, a lot of those kids show up dressed up now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah.
And the reason they do it is because they see the pros do it. And the pros doing that is setting an extremely good example. And the reason that I think a lot of the players will do it, because I'm sorry, I still think that the small town Saskatchewan boy that was playing in the National Hockey League is going to show it and act like he's a professional.
Yeah, I would suspect so. Yep.
I just hate that we're to the point in society where we're stripping the look of professionalism away from professionals. Call me old school.
Well, and it is old school, but that's okay. It's like, I don't see a need to change it. It's not hurting anybody. If anything, it's probably helping people. So. Yeah.
All right. That was the draft show.
Just like that.
Just like that. Now we'll do a free agency show this week.
Yeah, it's a holiday here, so I'll be around.
Yeah. We're doing it.
Perfect. Hopefully we get lots to talk about.
After that, then we'll have some special episodes. So we've got a couple of those in the hopper. So yeah. You know what we forgot to do, Kyle? We forgot to say thank you to the Florida Panthers for winning the Stanley Cup. I'm not a Florida Panthers fan, but I'm sure as hell not an Edmonton Oilers fan. So thank you.
Yeah, I alluded to some of this in our prior episode, and it was where my head was at personally. So, yeah, it didn't bother me in the least. So,
oh, it was good. All in all, a good draft for the Flames. A good couple days. Maybe not the moves we or some of us wanted, but there's still time. There's still hope, and I like the direction this team's going. I like some of the young futures that we have. And yeah, it should be fun. And free agency comes Tuesday. And all you listeners out there will deal with Kyle and I again on Tuesday as we fire off another free agency episode. Until then, enjoy what's left of the weekend. Hopefully the weather is good where you are at. And yeah, free agency will be here in just a couple days.
Exactly. So yeah, enjoy the next couple days. We'll see if there's any news on the Mitch Marner front or any other number of fronts. It's going to be a very interesting summer. So
until then, we'll see you. Have a good weekend.
See you guys.
Thanks for listening to Flames Unfiltered with Brad Burud and Kyle Lewis, your source for unfiltered Calgary Flames hockey talk. Keep it locked on flamesunfiltered.ca. Subscribe where you get all your podcasts to never miss an episode. Flames hockey talk every week, presented by Inside Edge Hockey Media Group.